Welcome to the Cal Allen ISD 2020-2021 Demographic Study Review. In this presentation, we will share results of our demographic review and planning for grade configurations in 2022-2023. In the summer of 2021, Cal Allen ISD commissioned PASA, Population and Survey Analyst, to conduct a demographic review for the district. Many school districts who are interested in planning for the long-range utilization of schools contract with PASA. They specialize in projecting future student enrollment by projecting new residential development, understanding potential land usage for undeveloped parcels, and relating findings to future student enrollment in schools. You may ask why a demographic study is important. As Cal Allen was facing reconfiguration, it was felt that doing so with the best information possible was essential to making good decisions. By having a clear idea of future growth, we could plan in a financially responsible and transparent manner. By utilizing multiple sources of data, we could maximize stability for students by planning ahead to minimize the need for changing schools. The district felt that conducting a survey over the summer of 2021 was in the best interest of the district as we were in a state of transition. West Intermediate opened this school year housing grades 4 and 5. McGee Intermediate was closed for the 21-22 school year for repairs. The original plan was for McGee to reopen in 22-23, and the district would transition to the model of McGee housing grades 2 and 3 and West housing grade 4 and 5. The demographic study was intended to determine whether or not that was the best decision long range for the district. As you can see from this graph, the district has experienced varying rates of growth annually since 2009. In the fall of 2020, enrollment was down by 134 students. We have seen enrollment bounce back this school year, but have not fully recovered from the pandemic. This slide shares some of the demographic characteristics of the Cal Allen area. What makes the area attractive to builders in terms of the housing market is the median household income, which is higher than the Corpus Christi metro area. I want to talk a little bit about how PASA develops their housing projections and trends. First, development overview maps are created to depict residential development across the district. PASA assigns staff to drive every actively developing neighborhood and count the homes that are occupied, under construction, and available so that they can align this with the student data from the same time frame. This helps to accurately project how many students will be in new homes. The developing neighborhoods in Cal Allen were driven in mid-July 2021 to collect data for the study. Next, PASA divides the district into planning units. What is a planning unit and why do we use them? Planning units are basically the district's attendance boundaries split up to create smaller, logical planning areas that allow us to assemble catchment zones for long-range planning as well as to assess trends on a smaller scale. Planning units can and do change as a district develops. Housing and student projections are broken out by these planning units for long-range planning purposes. Next, PASA utilized Nueces County Appraisal District data to analyze each parcel of land by planning unit to better understand where and when new development might occur. Here you will see parcel data overlaid on the planning units for Cal Allen ISD. Next, PASA interviewed jurisdictions that oversee development, developers, builders, and landowners to determine upcoming developments. They found that demand for new single-family housing will continue to grow in the coming years for the Corpus Christi metro area. According to the Corpus Christi Association of Realtors, in June 2021, new listings were not keeping pace with sales, which has driven down available inventory. The Corpus Christi Regional Economic Development Corporation anticipates job creation through 2030 could create a housing shortage through at least 2025. Housing development is expected to generally grow in the southeast, in areas south of Interstate 37 and east of Interstate 69, Highway 77, before extending west of Interstate 69 and along the Northwest Boulevard. This is due to the availability of raw land suitable for residential development adjacent to existing subdivisions and readily served by utilities. Here is an extensive list of potential developments with over 10 units projected by PASA for the planning period. Here you see PASA's projected new housing occupancies for the next 10 years. If all developed, that would be a total of 2,327 new occupancies. This slide shows potential additions broken out by year spans, 2021 through 2025 and 2026 through 2030. Now that we've discussed housing projections, let's move along to student projections. Determining the number of students per occupied home is key to our projections. PASA began by mapping district students where they actually are to 99.5% accuracy, and then moved on to determining current student ratios for different developments and neighborhoods. This is the students per home by neighborhood graph. As you can see here, depending on age, location, and many other variables, student ratios across Cal Allen ISD vary greatly. Predicting student enrollment during a pandemic is tricky. PASA created low, moderate, and high growth projections for the district. In keeping to a conservative approach, moderate growth projections were used for long-range planning. PASA's Moderate Growth Projection Series shows a projected annual increase of an average 75 students per year over the next 5 years, with an additional increase of an average 140 students projected annually in the last 5 years of the projection period. It is important to remember that the first years are higher due to the rebound in enrollment from COVID. By fall 2025, Cal Allen ISD is projected to have an enrollment of 4,332 students, and by fall of 2030, a total of 5,031 students. Annual growth rates could range from 0.75% to 3.71%. PASA's moderate growth scenario assumes the following. The perception of the district remains the same relative to other surrounding districts. The proportion of families classified as economically disadvantaged and therefore eligible for pre-kindergarten remains relatively stable throughout the projection period. Pre-kindergarten moves to full day beginning with 22-23 school year. Kindergarten enrollment continues to increase over time as housing is constructed and younger families move into the district. Re-enrollment of students not enrolled in the 2021 school year due to the COVID pandemic is approximately 50% the first year and 30% the next year. New multifamily complexes begin to build towards the middle and latter half of the planning period. Some manufactured housing is expanded in the district east of Interstate Highway 69, and mortgage interest rates remain below 3.3%. Next, we will move into long-range planning. Everything that we've just discussed gets rolled into the projections of student enrollment. The employment, news housing, students per unit, where students reside, and the recent trends all come together in PASA's model, and we end up with projected students by planning unit, by year, and by grade group. These are like puzzle pieces that we can then use to help the district in planning. This slide demonstrates projected enrollment for secondary campuses. Cal Allen Middle School and Cal Allen High School are included. You will notice that practical capacity has been set for each campus. This number determines the point at which campus expansion may be needed, or at which point it is no longer practical to house more students. Cal Allen Middle School practical capacity is set at 1,200 students. Cal Allen High School practical capacity is set at 1,600 students. As you can see, Cal Allen Middle School is expected to near practical capacity by the end of the projection window. This enrollment must be monitored to determine when and if expansion may be needed. This slide demonstrates projected enrollment for lower elementary campuses. The configuration represented here is when it was planned for Wood River and East to both house early childhood education, or pre-K, through first grade. As you can see, their enrollment would decrease significantly after year 1, which is the current year of 2021-2022, when second and third grade would leave the campus. They have plenty of room within their practical capacity to make growth over the next 10 years. This slide depicts projections by grade groups for grades 2nd through 5th grade on the original plan. McGee was set to house grades 2 and 3, and West grades 4 and 5. Practical capacity of McGee was 650 students. Practical capacity of West is 650 students as well. You will see, however, that in 2022, when the school opens, McGee will have 637 students if they have all second and third graders. That is 98% of practical capacity. You will also see that West would quickly reach above 100% practical capacity in 2024 if this current grade configuration remained. After reviewing results of PASS's demographic study, it became apparent that housing grades 2 through 3 at McGee and grades 4 through 5 at West would not be in the best interest of the district long term. It was determined that a change to the projected grade and enrollment configuration was needed. Therefore, beginning in 22-23, Wood River and East will serve students pre-K through 2, and McGee and West will serve students in grades 3 through 5. This will help alleviate capacity pressures on campuses, as well as limit the number of school changes for students. As you can see from the table provided, the new configuration balances campus enrollment and maximizes campus practical capacity. This change alleviates the need for campus expansion or school rezoning for at least 6 years, if not more. Beginning in the 22-23 school year, students currently zoned for Wood River will attend West Intermediate for grades 3 through 5, and students zoned for East Elementary will attend McGee for grades 3 through 5. The only exception is a small portion of what is currently in the Wood River zone. In order to place McGee in the East zone, the highlighted area will be rezoned. Calallen ISD property is the majority of the area. All families impacted by the boundary change are being contacted by the district. If you would like more information or to review the frequently asked questions, please access the district website at www.calallen.org. Click on the header for families, select Parent Guardian, then finally select the link to Demographic Study Grade Configuration. We will continue to update the frequently asked questions as questions arise. Thank you.